Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Nashingadev Jaya Nashingadev Nashingadev Jaya Nashingadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Shri Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Readings from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parīkṣit, text number 21. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam sukamukadamrita dravasamyutam vibhata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Text number 21 of chapter number 12, Birth of Emperor Parīkṣit. Dhanvinām agraṇīrisha. Dhanvinām agraṇīrisha. Tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ. Tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ. Hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ. Hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ. Samudra iva dustaraḥ. Samudra iva dustaraḥ. Dhanvinām agraṇīrisha. Tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ. Hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ. Samudra iva dustaraḥ. Dhanvinām agraṇīrisha. Tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ. Hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ. Samudra iva dustaraḥ. Tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ. Hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ. Samudra iva dustaraḥ. dhanvinām agraṇīresha tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ samudra iva dustaraḥ dhanvinām agraṇīresha tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ samudra iva dustaraḥ. Matajis. Dhanvinām agraṇīresha tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ samudra iva dustaraḥ. Dhanvinām agraṇīresha tulyaś cārjunayor dvayoḥ hutāśa iva durdharṣaḥ samudra iva dustaraḥ. Dhanvinām of the great bowmen, agraṇīr the foreman, Ishaha, this child, tulyaḥ, equally good, cha, and Arjunayor, of the Arjunas, dvayoḥ, of the two, hutāśa, fire, iva, like, durdharṣaḥ, irresistible, samudra, ocean, iva, like, dustaraḥ, unsurpassable. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation, please repeat. Amongst great bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjuna. He will be as irresistible as fire and as unsurpassable as the ocean. Purport. This is a long purport, 5-page purport. Let's hear patiently about glories and life of Arjuna. In history, there are two Arjunas. One is Kārtavīrya Arjuna, the King of Haihaya, and the other is the grandfather of the child. Both the Arjunas are famous for their bowmanship, and the child Parīkṣit is foretold to be equal to both of them, particularly in fighting. A short description of the Pāṇḍava Arjuna is given below. Pāṇḍava Arjuna, the great hero of the Bhagavad-gītā. He is the kṣatriya son of Mahārāja Pāṇḍu. Queen Kuntīdevī could call for any one of the demigods, and thus she called Indra, and Arjuna was born by him. Arjuna is therefore a plenary part of the heavenly king Indra. He was born in the month of Phalguna, February-March, and therefore he is also called Phalguni. When he appeared as a son of Kunti, his future greatness was proclaimed by air messages, and all the important personalities from different parts of the universe, such as the demigods, the Gandharvas, the Adityas from the sun globe, the Rudras, the Vasus, the Nagas, the different rishis, sages of importance, and the Apsaras, the society girls of heaven, all attended the ceremony. The Apsaras pleased everyone by their heavenly dances and songs. Vasudeva, the father of Lord Kṛṣṇa and the maternal uncle of Arjuna, sent his priest representative Kashyapa to purify Arjuna by all the prescribed samskaras, or reformatory processes. His samskara of being given a name was performed in the presence of the rishis, residents of Citraṅgadā He married 4 wives, Draupadi, Subhadra, Citraṅgadā and Ulūpī, from whom he got 4 sons of the names Shrutakirti, Abhimanyu, Babhruvāhana and Irāvān, respectively. During his student life, he was entrusted to study under the great professor Dronacharya, along with other Pandavas and the Kurus. But he excelled everyone by his studious intensity, and Dronacharya was especially attracted by his disciplinary affection. Dronacharya accepted him as a first-grade scholar and loved heartily to bestow upon him all the blessings of military science. He was so ardent a student that he used to practice bowmanship even at night, and for all these reasons, Professor Dronacharya was determined to make him the topmost bowman of the world. He passed very brilliantly the examination in piercing the target, and Dronacharya was very pleased. Excuse me. Royal families at Manipura and Tripura are descendants of Arjuna's son Babhruvāhana. Arjuna saved Dronacharya from the attack of a crocodile, and the Acharya, being pleased with him, rewarded him with a weapon of the name Brahmashirsha. Mahārāja Draupada was inimical toward Dronacharya, and thus, when he attacked the Acharya, Arjuna got him arrested. Excuse me. And brought him before Dronacharya. He besieged a city of the name Ahichatra, belonging to Mahārāja Drupada, and after taking it over, he gave it to Dronacharya. The confidential treatment of the weapon Brahmashirsas was explained to Arjuna, and Dronacharya was promised by Arjuna that he would use the weapon if necessary when he, Dronacharya, personally became an enemy of Arjuna. Excuse me. By this, the Acharya forecast the future battle of Kurukshetra, in which Dronacharya was on the opposite side. Mahārāja Drupada, although defeated by Arjuna, on behalf of his professor Dronacharya, decided to hand over his daughter Draupadi to his young combatant, but he was disappointed when he heard the false news of Arjuna's death in the fire of Shalak house, intrigued by Duryodhana. He therefore arranged for Draupadi's personal selection of a groom who could pierce the eye of a fish hanging on the ceiling. This trick was especially made because only Arjuna could do it, and he was successful in his desire to hand over his equally worthy daughter to Arjuna. Arjuna's brothers were at that time living incognito under agreement with Duryodhana, and Arjuna and his brothers attended the meeting of Draupadi's selection in the dress of Brahmanas. When all the Kshatriya kings assembled saw that a poor Brahmana had been garlanded by Draupadi for her lord, Sri Krishna disclosed his identity to Balarama. He met Ulūpī at Haridwara, and he was attracted by a girl belonging to Nagaloka, and thus Irāvān was born. Similarly, he met Citraṅgadā, a daughter of the king of Manipura, and thus Babhruvāhana was born. Lord Sri Krishna made a plan to help Arjuna to kidnap Subhadra, sister of Sri Krishna, because Baladeva was inclined to hand her over to Duryodhana. Yudhishthira also agreed with Sri Krishna, and thus Subhadra was taken by force by Arjuna and then married to him. Subhadra's son is Abhimanyu, the father of Parīkṣit Maharaj, the posthumous child. Arjuna satisfied the fire god by setting fire to the Kārtavīrya forest, and thus the fire god gave him one weapon. Indra was angry with the fire. Indra was angry when the fire was set in Kārtavīrya forest, and thus Indra, assisted by all other demigods, began fighting with Arjuna for his great challenge. They were defeated by Arjuna, and Indradeva returned to his heavenly kingdom. Arjuna also promised all protection to one Mayasura, and the latter presented him one valuable conch shell celebrated as Devadatta. Similarly, he received many other valuable weapons from Indradeva when he was satisfied to see his chivalry. When Maharaja Yudhishthira was disappointed in defeating the king of Magadha, Jarasandha, it was Arjuna only who gave King Yudhishthira all kinds of assurances, and thus Arjuna, Bhima, and Lord Kṛṣṇa started for Magadha to kill Jarasandha. When he went out to bring all other kings of the world under the subjection of Pandavas, as was usual after the coronation of every emperor, he conquered the country named Kelinda and brought in subjugation King Bhagadatta. Then he traveled through countries like Antagiri, Ulukapura, and Modapura, and brought under subjugation all the rulers. Sometimes he underwent severe types of penances, and later he was rewarded by Indradeva. Lord Shiva also wanted to try the strength of Arjuna, and in the form of an aborigine, Lord Shiva met him. There was a great fight between the two, and at last Lord Shiva was satisfied with him and disclosed his identity. Arjuna prayed to the Lord in all humbleness, and the Lord, being pleased with him, presented him the Pasupata weapon. He acquired many other important weapons from different demigods. He received Dandastra from Yamaraj, Pashastra from Varuna, and Antardhanastra from Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly kingdom. Indra wanted him to come to the heavenly kingdom and the Indraloka planet beyond the moon planet. In that planet, he was cordially received by the local residents, and he was awarded reception in the heavenly parliament of Indradeva. Then he met Indradeva, who not only presented him with his Vajra weapon, but also taught him the military and musical science as used in the heavenly planet. In one sense, Indra is the real father of Arjuna, and therefore, indirectly, he wanted to entertain Arjuna with the famous society girl of heaven, Urvashi, the celebrated beauty. The society girls of heaven are lusty, and Urvashi was very eager to contact Arjuna, the strongest human being. She met him in his room and expressed her desires. But Arjuna sustained his unimpeachable character by closing his eyes before Urvashi, addressing her as mother of the Kuru dynasty, and placing her in the category of his mothers, Kunti, Madri, and Shachidevi, wife of Indradeva. Disappointed, Urvashi cursed Arjuna and left. In the heavenly planet, he also met the great celebrated ascetic Lomasha and prayed to him for the protection of Maharaja Yudhishthira. When his inimical cousin Duryodhana was under the clutches of the Gandharvas, he wanted to save him and requested the Gandharvas to release Duryodhana. But the Gandharvas refused. Thus he fought with them and got Duryodhana released. When all the Pandavas lived incognito, he presented himself in the court of King Virata as a eunuch and was employed as a musical teacher of Uttara, his future daughter-in-law, and was known in the Virata court as the Brihannala. As Brihannala, he fought on behalf of Uttara, the son of King Virata, and thus defeated the Kurus in the fight incognito. His secret weapons were safely kept in the custody of Somi tree, and he ordered Uttara to get them back. His identity and his brother's identity were later on disclosed to Uttara. Dronacharya was informed of Arjuna's presence in the fight of Kurus and the Viratas. Later, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna killed many great generals like Karna and others. After the battle of the Kurukshetra, he punished Ashwatthama, who had killed all the 5 sons of Draupadi. Then all the brothers went to Bhishmadeva. It is due to Arjuna only that the great philosophical discourses of Bhagavad-gītā were again spoken by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. His wonderful acts on the battlefield of Kurukshetra are vividly described in the Mahabharata. Arjuna was defeated, however, by his son Babhruvāhana at Manipura and fell unconscious when Ulūpī saved him. After the disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa, the message was brought by Arjuna to Maharaja Yudhishthira. Again, Arjuna visited Dwaraka, and all the widow wives of Lord Kṛṣṇa lamented before him. He took them all in the presence of Vasudeva and pacified all of them. Later on, when Vasudeva passed away, he performed his funeral ceremony in the absence of Krishna. While Arjuna was taking all the wives of Krishna to Indraprastha, he was attacked on the way, and he could not protect the ladies in his custody. At last, advised by Vyasadeva, all the brothers headed for Mahaprasthana. On the way, at the request of his brother, he gave up all important weapons as useless, and he dropped them all in the water. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsya. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripari. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langaite girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinadarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Katanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukharam bhavet smrite paritam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishtaya Budale Shrimate Jai Pitaka Swami Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. I'll read the translation one more time. Amongst great bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjuna. He will be as irresistible as fire and as unsurpassable as the ocean. Hare Krishna. So here we are discussing about the birth of Emperor Parīkṣit, one of the pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of God, it's Krishna. So here, the Brahmanas, upon inquiry from Yudhishthira Maharaj, is prophesying the glories of Mahārāja Parīkṣit as a small baby. So here we can understand from the life of Mahārāja Parīkṣit how Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is very, very merciful to Mahārāja Parīkṣit right from the time Mahārāja Parīkṣit was in the womb of his mother Uttara. There is a Brahmastra which is chasing Uttara to destroy the only heir of Pandavas, who is Mahārāja Parīkṣit. And earlier we have seen how Uttara, being a devotee of Lord Krishna, she is crying for help to Krishna. Pahi pahi mahayogi deva deva jagatpate. She is crying, my dear Lord, please protect me, please protect me. And the Lord immediately understood the urgency of Uttara. He immediately released his chakra, Sudarshan chakra. And then he went inside and he became the size of a thumb, small size, took a small size and protected Mahārāja Parīkṣit right in the womb. So from this we can understand that how great a devotee Mahārāja Parīkṣit is. Got the direct protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead right in the womb of his mother. So generally the karma kandis, they think only when something good happens, they accept about the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the mood of the karma kandis. I'm doing something good should happen, then they accept, okay, something superior is there. If something doesn't happen, then their faith bristles away, right? So here we can understand the mood of the pure devotees. They are always dependent on Krishna. We can take the example of Maharani Kunti. Kunti was always dependent on Krishna throughout the difficult periods which Maharani Kunti and the Pandavas went through. And after all the difficulties were over and when Maharaja Yudhishthira was placed on the throne of Hastinapura again, then Krishna was leaving and Maharani Kunti was praying, oh my dear Krishna, when all the difficult times you are with us, now you are not with us. You are going to Dwaraka. Please don't leave us. If you want to leave, then give us more difficulty so that we can think about you again and again, so that you can be with us. By seeing you, we will not take another birth again. Vipada santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunarbhava darshanam. So by seeing you again and again, by remembering you again and again, there will not be any birth, another birth at all. So this is the mood of a pure devotee. Doesn't matter whether in difficulty or in happiness, they always want Krishna. So Arjuna is such a great personality. When Duryodhana and Arjuna went together in front of Krishna before the battle of Kurukshetra, so Krishna gave two choices to Duryodhana and Arjuna. They have to choose one of them. The two choices were Krishna will come without any weapon, nirayudapani. Without any weapon, he will come in to one side. On the other side, he'll give all his weapons, soldiers, everyone. So Arjuna chose, Krishna, I only want you. But Duryodhana was very happy. Oh, how foolish my brother is. All the weapons are there. All the weapons are there. All the soldiers of Krishna are there. That is more important. This Arjuna is useless. I didn't know that he could be so foolish. Like that Duryodhana was thinking. But Arjuna wanted, Krishna, I only want you. I don't want anyone else. This is the mood of the devotees. If Krishna is there by our side, then everything is possible. If Krishna is not by our side, then whatever great opulence we may possess, everything is just useless labor. Shramayeva hi kevalam. If we do not get attraction by our activities, if we don't get attracted to Krishna, then all those activities are just useless labor. Notpadayet yadi ratim shramayeva hi kevalam. The rati, if is not developing that attraction, dharmasvanushtita pumsaha vishvaksena katasuyah notpadayet yadi ratim shramayeva hi kevalam. It's all just useless labor. So from the life of Arjuna, we can understand how great a devotee he is. So here we are discussing about Mahārāja Parīkṣit's birth and how glorious he is going to be. The Brahmanas are explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then here it's explained that this child is going to be as good as Arjuna. So the mercy that Parīkṣit Maharaj received is unparalleled. So from these two personalities, the grandfather and grandson, Arjuna, the grandfather, and Parīkṣit Maharaj, the grandson, who are ardent devotees of Lord Sri Krishna, pure devotees of Lord Sri Krishna, they were always dependent on Krishna. In the greatest of the catastrophes that they have come across, they were fully dependent on Krishna. We can learn a lot from these two personalities' lives. How one should lead a life. How this life is full of difficulties. Everyone's life is full of difficulty. In this material world, the moment we appear, it is difficulty. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkhalayam, place of misery. This place is full of misery only, nothing else. If we think there is happiness, then we are in illusion. Many times we think, oh, I am very happy. Actually, no, we are not happy. We are illusioned. But many times we are again and again forced to think we are happy. We are making big plans and things like that. But actually, none of our plans will work unless it is aligned in Krishna consciousness, aligned to please Krishna. All these things are just useless. So here we come across from these two great personalities' lives. Arjuna, for example, he was in the middle of the battlefield, surrounded by all the great Mahāratis, the great grandfather. Bhishma was there, Drona was there, his brothers, his friends, his uncles, everybody were present in front of him. He's supposed to fight and kill them and defeat them. And then, from the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, we learn how much he got confused. He had so much of doubts what he should do. He didn't know whether to fight or not, whether to kill or not, whether to get this kind of opulence, this kingdom, this fame by killing all my friends and relatives and grandfathers and teachers. He was in so much of doubt what he should do. And in our own lives, we all come across so much doubtful situations, whether we should do this way or that way. So what did Arjuna do? When he was in doubt, he didn't take any decision. When we are confused, we should not take decision. When we are in angry mood, we should not take any decision. So we should approach someone else. And he approached a supreme authority. He approached the supreme authority. Sishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Please accept me as your disciple now. Please instruct me what I should do. I'm totally confused. I'm full of doubts. Please remove all the doubts. O Madhusudana, killer of demon Madhu. Madhu means misunderstanding, doubts. So if demon of misunderstanding, demon of doubt should move out of our heart, the only way is to surrender to Krishna. That's what Arjuna taught us. When we are in the association of demons, there is no question of Krishna consciousness. When we are in the association of doubts, then we are gone. So we should clear these doubts immediately, like how Arjuna did. Arjuna sought the association of Krishna. Krishna Surya Sama Maya hi Andhakara. Krishna is equivalent to sun, Maya is equivalent to darkness. Wherever Krishna is there is no question of darkness. There is no question of ignorance. So Arjuna sought the company of Krishna. So this is what we are understanding. When we are in doubt, please seek guidance. Parīkṣit Maharaj, he was cursed by a Brahmin boy that he will die in 7 days. So what he should do in 7 days? He didn't know what to do. So all the learned sages assembled there. He inquired what I should do. He didn't get satisfactory answer. Then Shukadev Goswami came. And then he said, yeah, you should hear the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead continuously. Then he just heard. Parīkṣit Maharaj heard 7 days and 7 nights. He taught us the art of dying. He taught us the art of dying, how to leave the body. We have to remember, we have to hear the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See the two glorious personalities, one grandfather and one grandson, how they became instrumental in delivering two wonderful scriptures. One is Bhagavad-gītā and another is Srimad Bhagavatam. By asking intelligent questions. Arjuna asked so many intelligent questions to drive away all our doubts. Here Parīkṣit Maharaj asked so many questions. Right in the first chapter, questions by sages. Those are all the questions asked by Parīkṣit Maharaj. 6 basic questions he asked. And based on that, entire Bhagavatam was narrated. And in that Bhagavatam, you will see so many question-answer sessions going on between devotees, amongst devotees, between Krishna and his devotees. So many explanations are there. So doubts are No doubt should be there. Prabhupada said, if you are doubtful about something, that means you have not read my books properly. If you have questions, then means you have not read my books properly. So Prabhupada has answered all the questions. If we read Prabhupada's books properly, then we should not have any questions, because Prabhupada has covered all the situations that we can come across in our life. All the principles are thoroughly analyzed by Srila Prabhupada. So here if you take these two personalities, Arjuna and Parīkṣit Maharaj, they ask all the questions. Whatever doubts we have is just coming again and again. The same doubts are coming and again and again. And answers are already there. If you read books, then we can get rid of all our doubts and confusions. So this is the greatness of these two personalities, Arjuna and Parīkṣit Maharaj. So from here we can understand that they are our role model for us. Both Parīkṣit Maharaj and Arjuna are the role model for us. Based on their lives, we can understand so many wonderful things. They went through so many difficulties. Not that we are going through difficulties. We have doubts, we have difficulties. Right? But their difficulty is much, much more greater. And they found solution by depending on Krishna. So the lesson that we learn from their lives is that when we depend on Krishna, when we depend on the process of bhakti, when we depend on the acharyas of our sampradaya, when we follow their guidelines properly, then all the difficulties can be overcome. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that we can cross over this bhava samudra, like how one can easily cross the water collected in the hoof print of a calf. How much easy it becomes. Like that, it becomes very easy to cross over this ocean of material world. So, when we depend on Krishna, everything becomes easy. In Chaitanya Charitamrita is said, Katanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhavet visprite viparitam syat Sri Chaitanyam namamitam. Katanchana smrite, somehow or other we should remember Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Katanchana smrite yasmin. Katanchana means somehow or the other. So when we remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting his names, Gauranga, Gauranga, when we keep on chanting the Gauranga's holy names and remember him all the time, then Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet. The most difficult thing will become very easy by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The most difficult things become very easy. What is the most difficult thing? To go back home, back to Godhead, not to take another birth again. That's the most difficult thing. That can be easily achieved. How? By following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The most sublime and easy process given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to all of us. So by remembering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and following his instructions by chanting the holy names of the Lord, it becomes so easy for anyone to cross over this most difficult situation of our life. Vismrite viparitam syat. If we do not do that, then even the most easiest things will become very difficult for us. So this is the assurance that we have. The mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu we have as practicing devotees. By taking up this mercy, by utilizing this mercy intelligently, one can become cleared of all the doubts and the life becomes very, very blissful. So many instructions are there. We have so many treasures. The treasure of Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many wonderful treasures we have. And this treasure house of love of Godhead has been opened for us, which was not available earlier. It is opened for us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This treasure house has been opened to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This treasure house contains full of love of Godhead. No one else has done this for us. It's done by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who demonstrated how to lead a life of a devotee. The Supreme Lord came as a devotee to demonstrate us the instruction, the final instruction given by Krishna in Bhagavad-gītā. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Krishna said, abandon all types of religion, just surrender unto me. But we, poor souls in Kali Yuga, what to do? We don't know. We are afflicted by the characteristics, features of Kali Yuga. Tatascha anudinam dharma satyam saucham kshamadaya kalena balina rajan nangshyate ayur balam smriti. All these qualities are diminishing in Kali Yuga. Dharma, religiosity; satyam, truthfulness; shaucham, cleanliness; kshama, forgiveness; daya, mercifulness; ayur, lifestyle, lifespan; balam, strength; smriti, memory. All these things are reducing day by day. There's a whole chapter describing about the features of Kali Yuga. The very first verse in the 12th canto is explained this. The second chapter of the 12th verse. In this situation we have taken birth. In this situation we have taken birth, and what do we expect? Very unfortunate. So, in order to relieve us from this unfortunate situation, give us some light, show some light in this darkest path of ignorance in this Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He taught us, demonstrated us. Demonstrated means personally he came as a devotee. Supreme Lord came as a devotee to teach us how to practice devotional service in spite of being in this situation of all these things. Satyam, Shaucham, Kshama, Daya, Kalena, Balina, Rajanaya, Balam, Smriti. All these things are reducing. In this situation also, how we can perform our devotional service. That is the greatness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's very, very easy when we remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the most glorious situation. We are so fortunate. We are so fortunate to have taken birth in this Kali Yuga, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared just 500 years before, just about 500 years before. So we are so fortunate. So we should not lose this opportunity. We should not wait for the Kali Yuga to deteriorate even further. Kali Yuga, progress of Kali Yuga is so horrible. When we read Bhagavatam, we can understand how horrible Kali Yuga is going to be. If somebody talks loud, he will be called intelligent. Somebody raises, yeah, I am telling you should do this. Oh, he's intelligent, somebody will say. That's how Kali Yuga is going to be. Already we are finding so many things happening in Kali Yuga. Divorce is legalized, gay marriage is legalized. So many things are happening already. Right? Drinking alcohol legalized. The greatest revenue generator in the society is consumption of alcohol and smoking. If you stop these two, the economy will collapse. The whole economy will collapse. Smoking and drinking is abandoned. Economy will collapse. So that is our situation in Kali Yuga now. So we are in such a situation. So we have to see how to move out of this place as quickly as possible and how to help others to get out of this place as quickly as possible. Parīkṣit Maharaj paved the way for us. Arjuna paved the way for us by giving these two wonderful literatures, that is Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam. And in order to solidify further these two scriptures, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and told us how to practice devotional service. Not only telling us, it demonstrated to us how to practice devotional service. Then it becomes, it's like a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this Kali Yuga is like a cherry on the top of, cherry topping, you know. It's like that. It becomes so blissful. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned about what we should do. Kaler dosha nide rajan asti eko mahan guna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Kaler dosha nidhi. This Kali Yuga is like ocean of faults, doshanidhi. But there is one wonderful quality. What is that? Kirtanādeva Krishnasya. When we chant the holy names of the Lord, that's the exact process demonstrated to us, recommended to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we all should be very, very indebted to Arjuna and his grandson Parīkṣit Maharaj for leaving behind these two wonderful scriptures through which we can understand what is, who we are, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, what is our relationship, what is the process we should follow, and what is the ultimate goal of life. Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, all these processes can be easily understood through these scriptures. So we all should be indebted always to these two great personalities. And then here it is foretold by the Brahmanas, prophesied by the Brahmanas about the greatness of Parīkṣit Maharaj, how glorious he is going to be. So that's what we are reading, and Prabhupada has dedicated 5 full pages, almost, 5 full pages to describe, and he mentions a short description of Pāṇḍava Arjuna is given below. It goes for 5 pages, a short description, Prabhupada. So that means how great Arjuna is. It's just only a short overview is given. That took almost 15 minutes for me to read through this short description. So if you go into the Mahabharata, so many great details are mentioned about glories of Arjuna. All these things are there. But for us to understand, what we should understand from this, these great personalities have demonstrated, they have asked so many questions, they have led their life, exemplary life, for us to follow them, for us to see how we can imbibe those principles, how we can. It's not that we alone are who are going through difficulties. Everybody is going through difficulty. Arjuna went through difficulty. Parīkṣit Maharaj went through difficulty. It is not about challenging the difficulty. It is about how to respond to the difficult situation. Arjuna responded by surrendering to Krishna. Parīkṣit Maharaj responded by approaching the sages of Naimisharanya, by hearing from Shukadeva Goswami. These are the intelligent ways of dealing with difficulties. So we all can go through so many difficulties, and we will go through difficulties. The only solution for all the difficulty, all the challenges, is to understand, yes, we can be in difficulties, and the only solace for us is to depend on Krishna, to depend on the Guru, to depend on the Vaishnava. That's the only solace. We may sometimes, when we are in doubtful situations, sometimes our ego, false ego, tells us, no, you are right. Even though we are wrong, our false ego says, no, how can you be wrong? You are right. There's a tendency for us to feel that we are always right. I'm sure most of us might have come across this kind of situation in our life. How can you be wrong? No. I'm a learned person, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, I'm this, I'm that. How can I be wrong? So the doubts, if it is not cleared appropriately, then it leads to fall down. So we have to deal with our doubts and confusions very intelligently. Otherwise we will be forced to think we are always right, others are always wrong. So we should come out of that situation. We should become humble. We should be humble enough to accept, yes, I'm very, very fallen. I can be wrong. So let me hear from an intelligent person. Give all respects to others. Do not expect respect from others. These are the instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to us. Amani namanadena. So this is what we are understanding from all these things. How we can lead our life. How we can overcome our difficulties. How we can respond to challenging situations in life. Even the advanced stage of devotional service, many devotees, after practicing many years of devotional service, found it very, very challenging to deal with certain situations. But Krishna will take care of all such devotees. Krishna is looking at all the wonderful things that we have done in the past to please Him, to please His devotees. And Krishna will definitely take care of those situations for them. For us to learn is how we should be dependent on Krishna in the most trying situations and in the most happy situations also. That's what we should learn and practice. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or comments, you can share. Yes, Mataji. Can somebody help? Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for such an inspiring class. So, Prabhu, devotees are supposed to be very kind and compassionate, and they are always engaged in service of the Lord and other devotees. But when they are attacked by others, like demons, they don't have the physical strength to defend themselves. Like they are not, taking food which is giving them a lot of protein so that they can defend themselves and, fight like a kṣatriya. So how should we maintain our physical health so that when we are attacked and other devotees are attacked, we can defend and just take care of them physically? Because we saw in Bangladesh, Parthadas, he was killed and we couldn't do anything, like we could only pray for him. So please suggest us that what should we do?
It's a very unfortunate situation sometimes devotees come across. So in spite of practicing devotional service properly, in spite of following all the guidelines given by the scriptures properly, devotees come across these set of challenging situations. There are many instances in the history also where many such devotees have gone through so many difficulties, so many challenges. In Prabhupada's life also we can see he went through severe heart attacks. His typewriters were stolen. We have seen many devotees in ISKCON, sannyasis, who were attacked by demoniac people with demoniac tendencies. All these things are happening. So it's, as we were discussing, Kali Yuga is progressing. It's not surprising, because this is the nature of Kali Yuga. All these things will definitely happen. So what we should do as practicing devotees, so firstly, we should always be dependent on Krishna, which most of the time we are dependent on Krishna. In spite of being dependent on Krishna, sometimes these things can happen. So our only solace only remedy is to pray to Krishna, and Krishna will. So we are looking at two different things. One is the external situation. Externally, when we see, it looks like devotees are affected. That is, from the bodily platform, we see the devotees are attacked or killed or going through so many challenges and things like that. But Krishna is always there. Krishna will help the devotees, and from a broader perspective, just not the external situation, from the broader perspective, we see such devotees when they get attacked or when they get killed while they are practicing devotional service, it is assured that they go back to Godhead. In the presence of Krishna, so many people were killed. In the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna killed so many demons, and so many devotees underwent so many difficulties. All these things are explained in the scriptures, that these people will get the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all these devotees who are getting affected, definitely they have a special mercy, and the prayers of the Vaishnavas will help them to get elevated to a better platform, or even go back to Godhead. That's the greatest facility we have as a practicing devotee. So that doesn't mean you voluntarily go into a difficult situation, go on challenging people. No, this is not recommended. What is recommended is while let's continue to do our duty properly, in spite of that difficulties can come, then prayer to Krishna is the only alternative or only solace for us. So basically we should continue to remember Krishna at all times, depend on Krishna all times, and in spite of that something happens, then we should understand it is the mercy, it's the desire of Krishna that certain things should happen in such a way, and then there is a higher purpose for it. We may not understand that higher purpose at this point in time, but in later point of time we may understand all these things. Take for example the Pandavas. The Pandavas went through so many difficulties, atrocities from Duryodhana and the other brothers. So they went through so many difficulties, so many challenges. They were attacked with deadly weapons. His Draupadi, being the very wonderful devotee of Krishna, she was disrobed in the assembly of all the kings and the ministers. All these things happened to devotees. It's not that it happened to some common man or something like that. It happened to a pure devotee of Krishna. But there is a purpose behind all these things. Sometimes we understand these purposes, many times we may not understand these purposes. But Krishna understands everything, the past, present and future of every individual devotee. So when we pray to Krishna for the protection, Krishna protects us. We need not be from the external side, but He gives permanent protection by ensuring that we don't take birth again. So that's the greatest protection we get. He takes us near to Him, to His abode, where we can do blissful devotional service. So we have to take all precautions. The management who is responsible for the management of the temple, the taking care of the devotees, everybody will have to take all the responsibilities and precautions to safeguard the interest of the devotees. In spite of that, if something goes wrong like this, then we should understand it is arrangement of the Lord. When the Lord arranges something, it is always for our benefit. We should always think and firmly understand that whatever Krishna does, it is for the good of the devotees. Krishna doesn't want anything to go wrong for His devotees. He gave an assurance, my devotee will never perish. So we have to understand there is a special plan for all these devotees, for all of us, by Krishna. So by understanding that and by depending on Him, by praying to Him at all times and take necessary precautions within our limits, that's how we should deal with different situations that we come across. We cannot remove all the demons in the society. We can only see to whom we can associate with and how we can protect ourselves properly. In spite of that, some challenges come, we just have to depend on Krishna. Yeah? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you so much for wonderful insight. Apart from this, the ultimate understanding that everything is happening by the Supreme Will of Krishna, there are many devotees, those who are telling, they are coming up with the idea that of course there are many devotees who are not of the kṣatriya physique, and they cannot be because some of them will be like Brahmana, some of them will be kṣatriya. So of course in our institution there should be some system of kṣatriya squad, so that we could protect our devotees. Like, of course, unless devotees will be there in the body, then it will be very difficult for devotees to join, because you see then in this institution, the devotees are joining and they are being kicked out from their body. Yeah, so, what's your insight about this particular thought, Prabhuji?
See, in the early days in Mayapur, I heard from His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Guru Maharaj, there used to be a lot of dacoits coming to steal things here. So they used to have a gun, licensed gun in the temple. One time few dacoits came for attacking the devotees and tried to steal things from the temple. His Holiness Jayapatak Maharaj, who he carried the gun and chased all these dacoits out in order to show that we are here to protect our devotees. We are not just simply here just to chant and move out. So sometimes if required, we will take the weapons in our hand to fight against these things. Like for example, in the recent all over the world, ISKCON devotees expressed their protest against this Bangladesh incident by reminding us how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed a civil disobedience in those days. The first civil disobedience was started by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when the Muslim ruler broke the mridanga and threatened the devotees that if they continue with Sankirtana, they will be attacked. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did a different type of demonstration by performing kirtans, thousands of devotees going from different direction towards the Muslim ruler, and the ruler got afraid, and then he wrote a will that devotees will not be harmed anymore. So like that he has written here. So like that we have different ways of protecting ourselves, expressing our unpleasantness or our not accepting certain situations that is happening here. So we should have all these things. We have built a proper security system. If you say in Mayapur, we have about hundreds of security men here. And then we also have, we might in the future will have some secret police also deployed to protect the interest of the devotees. All these things will happen. It is not that we will not do all these things. All these precautionary measures, as I said earlier, precautionary measures will definitely be taken. But in spite of that, if something goes wrong, we have to understand it is the will of the Lord. So definitely all temples have certain precautionary measures. In spite of that, certain things can go wrong. Right? Thank you.